Impasto means thick paint, and we can do impasto paints lots of ways. You could apply a whole lot of oil paint to things. That application of thick paint can be kind of expensive if you start putting, you know, large quantities of paint down, and you can put, so it has this textural effect. That can be kind of expensive because oil paints aren't cheap, but you can build up the surface and you can see it's very dimensional. Another option could be that as you scrape your palette, we're going to take a razor blade and scrape off the things that are dried up. And one artist I found online was taking these little scrapings and stirring them into some paint. The paint covers up all the scrapings, but it adds some volume to your paint. So you have all this dried paint. Doesn't matter what color it is because you're painting it with the new color. So here I have some yellow scrapings that I've put down, and instead of having this huge amount of yellow paint, I actually have scrapings that are covered in yellow paint. So I have big chunks of them here, so I could put, if I wanted to really, you could use the paint as a glue, and then you paint it into the surface. I have this big chunk of scrapings of paint, and that's another way you could build the illusion of a thick paint. It's actually dried paint, but the intent is to make it work. So we have thick paint that is pure paint. We have thick paint that is from the scrapings of a palette, and one that's a little more. Any of those are going to take a while. But you could build up a surface to make a three-dimensional area if you'd like. Another way you can do this is this mock impasto, where we actually put some material down ahead of time. You kind of have to think it through this, and then you could go back as you wanted with the colors of your choice and paint those areas, and it looks like the paint is thick, but what it is another material underneath that we're just painting. It depends on what you want it to look like. One of my favorite paintings I have is a mock impasto piece, and mostly I think because it was kind of a creative thing. So here you see I painted the same color up in this part of the square where it was plain, and then I've painted over that impasto, and it looks like a very, very thick paint. This book shows an artist working in a combination of a wash and an impasto method in the same piece. So here you see they began with laying things in some real extreme washes, planning their composition a little bit. And over here, they're adding a lot of textural elements with very, very thick paint. And you can see the difference between the wash and the thick paint gives you a lot of nice, interesting contrast. Palette knives are really good to apply this. Paintbrushes work also. They're making fruits and vegetables here, so you can see here putting in the seeds and being very strong in the texture of the cantaloupe here, texture of the pomegranate.